everybody, this is Jenny Luscombe and this is Feeling is Healing, and today we're going to talk about relating, but we're going to talk about lots of things. The original idea that I had for this show is like stemming from like a gut feeling that because the world is, how it is, that it's become necessary for communities and families and couples and partners and parents and children and anyone who is playing a role in your life, that we all need to learn how to heal together rather than doing it kind of away from the home, away from the people that you've got the problem with somebody that you're sort of outsourcing your life to with the assumption that they know better. Or that they can help even. Because I'm not saying that they can't help. Like there's millions of people out there who can help. But there's so much misunderstanding, in my opinion, about how to relate. And it sort of feels like the situation with relationships has reached a point where it's like people have sort of given up because the same things are happening over and over again. People are stuck in the loops, the patterns, and then it just becomes unworkable. And obviously sometimes relationships need to become unworkable because they're not the ones that are right for you. But I'm just like wanting to put it out there today. What do people think about this? Because therapists themselves, I mean, I'm not a mainstream therapist, but I do know a lot of mainstream therapists. And everyone's different in the way that they see their client base and their ethics and their morals. And for some people, certain things are acceptable, and for others, it's not. And I just think that it's a good idea to just be a human in that situation rather than sort of follow standardized, this is what you do. I've tried to do things like that, and I always end up disagreeing for some reason because something's happened, and then I'm using that experience to inform myself of what is real for me. So I'm just interested, do people feel that they have the skills to begin to heal with their families in terms of emotional healing, mental healing, that kind of thing? Physical healing will kind of come as a result of those two things. But a lot of people feel like it's something that you shouldn't do with your own family, which I'm seeing more and more, and I'm finding that kind of alarming. And, there's some therapists who think you shouldn't work with the same two people in a family, or because you'll have a conflict of interests, and like you shouldn't work with a child if you're working with the parent, and all of these kind of things. And I get these questions quite often from clients, and I always say, if you're comfortable with that, then I'm comfortable with that, because I think that they feed into each other, and I think that armed with more information, that more healing can happen. But I know that it's all about whether people trust themselves. There's loads that I don't even know sort of where to begin with it, but I'm feeling like, from what I'm seeing, that it's become necessary for families to be educated in a way that they understand what's actually really happening in relationships, because we're all kind of being steered away from each other. Like there's so many agendas separating us from each other. It's hard to pinpoint them, but it's kind of happening all over the place. So yeah, I'm just wondering, does anybody have anything that they'd like to say?
Yes, I would like to say something. Oh, go on. Who's going first?
Well, I got my hand up, if there is such a thing. Yeah, there are a few things that I can input here, Jen. One is from a psychology point of view. My background in clinical psychology. in a psychological relationship with someone, it's a special kind of relationship called a transference relationship. So as a therapist, when someone comes to you, you need to establish a special kind of love relationship where the client actually puts a lot of energy into the relationship between the psychologist and themselves, and this is used for the healing. But then, and at the end of the of that relationship, it has to come to an end. You know, you get cases like John Cleese, who's writing books with his psychologist. Well, the problem is that the energy that he's got invested into that relationship never then gets returned to his life. So before someone goes to see their psychologist, they've got a lot of energy tied up in their problem. In the psychology relationship, that energy then gets transferred to the relationship. And then once the healing has been done, that person then needs to move that energy back into their life again, because otherwise they're not properly healed. And the problem is, anyone who maintains a relationship with the psychologist at the end of therapy, they stay immersed in this transference relationship. So that's one aspect. The other thing is, with energy work, a lot of people in the West, I mean, often they do a Reiki course and they start doing Reiki and all that kind of thing. But all of these things are energy work. And in the West, people generally don't understand a lot about energy. They don't understand about clearing their energy and so on. In India, if you walk along the banks of the Ganges, you'll find guys there who'll give you massages and all that kind of thing. What you won't ever see is an Indian getting a massage from someone on the banks of the Ganges. If they've been massaged since they were babies within the family, and if they need that kind of healing, they will always go to someone who is in the family because they have a similar sort of energy to them. Now, if I'm practicing Reiki and I do Reiki on Litmus, not only is Litmus affected by my energy, but I'm affected by his energy. And then if I turn around to you, Jen, and start doing some work on you, you're affected not just by my energy, but also by Litmus's energy. Unless I know how to clear my energy between one client and the next client, we can get into a bit of a mess, really. So, I mean, that's not directly related to what you were saying, because you were talking about family. You know, for energy work, certainly, I would say that's better done within the family with people whose energy you know. If some stranger comes up and offers you Reiki, I would say, sorry. You know, if it's someone that you know well and you know their energy and you trust their energy, that's a different thing. When it comes to psychology work, sorting out minds and relationships and that kind of thing, well, I don't know. It's a bit hard to say. Normally, family therapy and psychology is done very, 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 very carefully, and there are rules for doing it.
Yeah, thanks, Prajna. I mean, like I do find like some of these like rules and regulations so interesting, and I've got sort of friends who work in psychology and all over the place, like different countries, like different types of psychology, different types of alternative therapy as well. And then a lot of people are blending the mainstream with, which is obvious, that's going to happen. That mainstream therapists are waking up and then they're seeing other perspectives. And then I think all of this stuff, it's kind of more about the therapist than the therapy. Each practitioner has their own sort of unique way. But what I'm kind of interested by is that what's really happening in families is that people don't understand what they're in. Like they're not understanding what emotion is, and people are getting pushed out of the family who are needing help. And then people who need help, they seek help outside the family, and then they're given kind of like information which isn't always correct. I mean, like I would say that the majority of clients that come to me have had a boatload of mainstream therapies that haven't seemed to have worked. They don't seem any further forward. And then when I sort of ask what that journey's been like and what the other therapists had advised and kind of the way that they approach things, it seems that more often than not that the client themselves was made the bad guy because of their emotion, which literally gives me a heart attack, because it's the worst thing that you can do with emotion, because it's shame. So basically in the body, shame is like the lowest frequency that there is. So people are not only kind of ostracized by their own families because their own families have been triggered by the emotion of that person who is probably a victim of something, and they were asking for help. This is a pattern that I'm seeing over and over again, and it's a pattern that I've personally been experiencing as well for a lot of my life. That there's no support in the family, and then when they seek support outside the family, the support that they're receiving is turning them kind of against themselves. It's like the worst. It's the worst looping cycles that I'm having a heart attack now. Just thinking about it and thinking about my own experience of this. It's a horror show, and I feel very strongly that something major needs to happen in terms of people being informed about what's real and how to handle an angry person in their family, you know, particularly the difficult emotions that people don't want to be around. That they're actually a gold mine if they could be allowed to flow through that. And like, this is all about us being chronically interrupted on every level from being ourselves.
William Freud famously said that when someone goes into therapy, their family should be destroyed. You know, he was saying basically that a lot of people's problems, you know, come from the family relationship. And you know, I've seen it myself as a therapist. You know, that you do work with people. You make, you know, quite some strides in it. They go back to their family life, and they're back into the same influences that bent them out of shape in the first place.
Yeah. Can I contribute, Jen?
Yeah, go on, Litmus. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's kind of a question of maturity and sort of consciousness. Because I'm a big convert now, having tried this with you. You know, previously I probably would have thought, you know, I want to go to a therapist for therapy. But having done that and had some good experiences and some not so good, so mixed bag really. And then having tried it the way we did it, I think so. I think it's a question of maturity and consciousness within the family. And I just think a lot of Western families maybe just aren't at the level where they can handle stuff. So yeah, they need training, like you're saying, basically need education and to try it. But also, I think it depends what it is. If it's a very obviously extreme mental condition where they really need treatment and, you know, should be in a proper facility with proper supervision and help and all the rest of it, definitely not in the family. Definitely dealt with by people professional in that, you know. But if it's more of a everyday kind of healing trauma wounds from childhood and that kind of thing, Yeah, I think it should be done in the family, and it should. Well, not should, but it can definitely have much better and much quicker results in the family than the much longer drawn out process of us with a stranger outside the family who doesn't know any of the history, especially when you go to one who doesn't make any notes or remember anything you tell them, and in 10 sessions later they still can't remember if it was your mother or your father that really gave you original wound. And I think, well, what am I paying this fucking money for then? You useless, you know. Like, we had a couple of informal sessions where we're just basically chatting, right? And that was a million times better in one night, you know, than 10 sessions with a so-called professional. So yeah, I think it can, and at that level, I think it needs. I agree with you. It needs to come into the family and be done with the people affected, and especially with the people who may have caused some of the problems in the first place. You know. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think
exactly.
it's a maturity and people being able to deal with that. You know. But I think that's how making this change or promoting this change is how you're going to upgrade the operating systems, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example, right, of a client that I was seeing quite a few years ago. And when she first came to me, she was just a kid. I think she was like 15, 16. She was still at school and she had a eating disorder. And, you know, her mum and dad obviously loved her, was really worried, and booked the sessions for her, and she consented to that. And she came to see me a few times, and then it just became really clear to me what was necessary for them, like as a family, not just for her, because I realised that parents were just not available for her at all. Like she couldn't feel anything in front of them without them trying to fix it or cover it up or saying, no, you don't feel like that, no. So the girl, which was completely invalidated. So all it took was for me to ring her mum and not explain, I don't like that word, but to say that when somebody is in pain and when they're hurt, they don't want to be fixed, they just want to be heard, and they just want to be allowed to just be broken for as long as it takes for them to, you know, they just wanted to be loved as they are. They don't want to feel like they have to be a certain way. They don't want to be shut up. They don't want to be told to feel something different, or that they shouldn't be like that, or that there's other ways for them to be that would please everybody. They don't want to feel like they're a burden and that everyone's lives have stopped and that they're all looking at them waiting for them to get better so everyone can just get on with things. It's the worst form of hell. And it's happening in every single family from what I can see. Like on some level, people are suffering and they're not allowed to suffer because their family can't bear it. But if their family knew what not validating their pain was doing to that person, they would come in the opposite direction and they would go towards that person and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that all you needed was for me to hear you. You know, I thought I was doing the right thing by trying to shut you up. You know?
Jen,
it's
Jen,
misunderstanding. It's like it's huge, and what happened in that family was absolutely magical, because as soon as her parents knew what to do, they loved her in the way that she needed to be loved, and then she just went on to have like loads of improvements in every area of her life. And it was a case of people just not knowing, like having been misinformed by, like the girl she'd been through school support, you know, like I can't remember what the service is called, the CAMS, child and adolescent mental health support. Like they're notoriously not great at supporting kids. And I do know people who do a good job there. Do you know what I mean? Like there's always good people doing good jobs, you know. But generally, the people who work for CAMS don't seem to understand what emotion is and what is required in families when someone is in pain. So this whole thing worries me a lot. It worries me that there's a culture of pushing a person in a family away who is suffering, and that that's normal. I mean, like over and over again, when people have memory of sexual abuse, for example, and they spend years agonizing about whether to speak about that, and then finally they do, what happens in families, like all the time, and it's extremely common, it doesn't happen in every family, but it's very, very common that that person will speak up, and then the entire family will abandon them. And it's not necessarily because they don't believe it happened. You know, sometimes it is, but the main reason is that they'd rather make that person the bad guy than face themselves and face their own fears and face what they're going through. They would rather kind of like ping pong all of the energy back to that person who's already in the depths of despair and pain. This is a common scenario that is happening everywhere over and over again, because there's so many agendas and kind of like programs about emotion and what emotion is and what you're supposed to do with it, that people just go into avoidance. And it's what creates war. Like this is what creates war. Someone over there is behaving differently. They're different and I don't understand it. So rather than like look into that person's heart and figure out what's going on for them, it's easier for me to push them away and like make them the weird one or the bad one or the wrong one, you know. So like I don't know what needs to be done about this. I just want to flag it up, and I just want anybody listening to know that if somebody in your family is angry, they've got good reason, and rather than allowing their anger to trigger all your stuff in your body about your past, why not listen to them and give them a chance to speak from their heart about what's gone on for them, and then maybe you'll understand their emotion, and then in you understanding their emotion and having cared enough to ask them about it, they won't have the anger anymore and it will be over, because emotions are temporary. So not only are we making incredibly difficult emotional experiences permanent, like they're just going to get worse. It's just going to get worse. Like all of this shaming and pushing away is just going to make everything like way worse. And like the road to peace in any kind of conflict, you know, and that includes an internal conflict that a person is having like right in front of you, is for you to really look at them in every way and to ask yourself, if I was in that life experience with that wife, with that education, with that, you know, house, with those people around them, with that, you know, with those hobbies, with these issues, like, given that I'm looking at them, I'm standing in their shoes, like, why would they be feeling that way? And what can I do to support them? Not what can I do to stop them feeling that? Because like that's where we are. We're trying to stop people from feeling things, and people are feeling things. They're feeling a lot of things, and people need to be allowed to finish feeling things, and they need to be witnessed like going through that process, because that's how the world's going to change. Like that's how I think the world will change. Just that, just people being allowed to finish expressing their emotion. That's it. Yeah, does anybody want to?
Yeah. Regarding eating disorders, that they're almost always about control. You know, when an adolescent can't control anything about their lives, it's usually a controlling father who, you know, has seen this girl come into puberty and starts exercising a whole lot of control so that they don't get corrupted, you know. But it almost always boils down to control, and I can imagine that in the situation with that particular client that you were working with, that once you convince the parents not to try fixing her, at the same time some of that control relaxed, and that's perhaps what allowed them to recover.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It is all about control. I think like the particular program that causes all of that kind of stuff is nothing. Nothing makes a difference. Like nothing works. Like when you get stuck in nothing works, then all you've got is what's there in front of you. You control your food, but you might not have any other way of showing anyone that there's anything wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it
that's
worked
very
for
much
her because it was kind of like a long way around, you know, like the long way around. But eventually, she found that her parents like did care. They just didn't know what to do because their parents didn't know what to do, and their parents before that didn't know. So like a pattern of relating was broken, and something as simple as that, like a little tweak, like enabled her to be heard, and then changes could be made because she felt loved. She felt like she mattered, rather than like, oh, everything I feel, it just gets squashed or deleted or made irrelevant or whatever. Like that's quite a small tweak for like a major thing. And like none of this is rocket science. Like I sort of feel like people get steered away from their own families, saying, "Oh, you can't mess with that stuff. Like you can't do trauma work. Oh no, no, it's too dangerous. You know, you might unleash a beast or something like that." But like, you know, we all know that the subconscious mind doesn't give us anything too much for us to handle. Like we've chosen all this stuff. Do you know what I mean? It just is. Like if it's happening to us, then we actually can resolve it. We just need to go in the direction of it. But when there's like being so many programs, like people just aren't informed. Like people don't know.
Yeah, I think what I like about what you said just before, Jen, was well, what you just said there about getting things pushed away. I think being encouraged to push your own emotions away is one thing, right? And what I like what you said about emotions is that they're temporary, right? They're there to be expressed in the moment and then let go, not to be
Yeah,
bottled up to come out like a big volcano erupting years later, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's a tragedy because it like if you look at the world and what's happening, uh, it's what's causing war. Do you know what I mean? It's what's perpetuating that, and the like the inaction of people around that. Like it's what causes physical disease, like all of that. Okay, I could have just expressed all this emotion in the moment, but I'm going to hold onto it for like 25 years, and then you end up with all these symptoms and like sometimes even terminal illness, and there's no information really out there to suggest to anyone who would be willing to do this kind of work with their family. Like so many people don't know that that's what it is because of, you know, the way we've been told to take pills. And like it isn't I don't think it's hard. I mean, obviously emotional healing is hard, but once you actually understand the basics of you're supposed to bring the emotion towards you and listen to it rather than just delete it and push it away because it's triggering you know, because it's too hard or whatever. It's just short-sighted, and it's the world's stuck. It's like we've stopped. We've stopped. Everything's stopped because everyone's stuck, and we don't need to be. I find it incredibly frustrating.
The other thing about families, Jen, of course, is nobody gives you any classes on how to be a parent, how to be a dad, you know, so we have to kind of figure it out for ourselves, and we do that, as you pointed out, you know, according to the way that our parents treated us, and they acted the way they did because their parents treated them in a particular way, and so on. So it's not surprising, really, that there are problems in families.
No, it really isn't. And you know, my daughter's finished her last GCSE today, so she's like now free of school. So I couldn't be happier. But I don't think there's been like a single lesson in relationship since she's been at school, and crazily enough, like that includes primary school. And I used to work in a primary school for 10 years, and like, you know, I don't remember really teaching the kids about relationship in a way that was meaningful, because I didn't know then. Certainly wasn't in my teacher training. The only reason that I know about that now is because I've had like a million relationships that have gone wrong. But because my relating in my family, like when I was a child, was absolutely shocking. So it's taken me like decades of my life to understand kind of like, you know, what to do about that for me. But yeah, I did get a lot of programming, and I know not everybody got the same programming as me, but there is a lot that we can all do within our own families that can accelerate the process. I mean, I've had a particularly difficult journey with that because my family will not engage with me on any level about the healing. I tried for years, and then I tried to push them away and estrange myself for 8 years, and it pretty much nearly destroyed me, I have to say. You know, it's amazing that I'm still here. So I just want to share my wisdom, and sort of like anybody who's having family conflict or like stuff that feels like irreconcilable differences, and you know, it helps to have a map. It helps to have like a few basic sort of understandings about what to do, like how to play emotion, like what do we do, because none of us have really had any kind of like experience of what's real and like what works. We're just all kind of stumbling around.
Yeah, it's like I've got a good excuse now to talk about astrology, because like Priza said, you know, no one teaches you how to be a dad and that. Yeah, no one, like you said, you're teaching your daughter, you haven't had time the whole time she's in school. So we never get taught any of these really important basic life essentials, you know, for relating. And in astrology, of course, the 7th house is about relating. And interestingly, that's also the house where war and conflict goes. So on my laptop, which is organized in houses, you know, I've got partnerships and relationship stuff in the 7th house. And I've also got Israel and Palestine and stuff in there. Because you're right, you know, these suppressed emotions and that do eventually lead to war of some kind or other, whether it's internally in the family or externally in society or between nations or whatever, because it's all pushed away and suppressed, and nobody's educated in how to handle it properly. So, yeah, you know, and in personal relationships, you know, the media and everything encourages us to jump straight into house 5 and house 7, house 5, romance and fun and all of that kind of, and sex and stuff, and then relating, you know, house 7. But what about house 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6? You know, what about those? Like, no one tells us about those. But actually, if you look at all of those and what they stand for, and you do those first before you go into a big relationship, you're going to save a lot of, well, I believe you're going to save a lot of problems down the line, right?
Yeah. God, there's so much to say. I mean, like that's amazing that war and relating is in the same place, same house. That just is so cosmically perfect, in my opinion, because that's the polarity, you know. That's nuts to me. But yeah, like I've kind of all my life been.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, it does sound nuts when you when I first read it, I thought, oh, really? But then when I thought about it, it made perfect sense. Yeah, like you say, because you know the issues that you can have one-to-one in a marriage or something are the same kind of issues you can have one-to-one between two countries. You know, yeah. And if you don't know how to relating one-to-one in your family, how are you going to sort it out at an international level? For fuck's sake, you know?
Yeah.
Can I ask, how would that work in relating to yourself?
In what context, Carly?
In the astrological context, if that's relating, like war, like in a sense of war, or with your close relationships, how about your internal parts that relate to one another, like as in the opposites?
Yeah.
Does that deal with self as well?
Yeah, so the houses, like the signs, go in pairs of opposites. So the first house is the self, where you'd have all of that stuff. And you can use all 12 houses to look at yourself as well. So it works for everything. And then the opposite house to the first is the seventh, where you're relating with a significant other is, you know, and if you're a country, that might be your closest neighbor, that like India and Pakistan, or, you know, wherever you're having a border dispute is Russia and bloody Ukraine, or whatever it is, you know, or, you know, you and your partner. So it's like an axis which goes from the first house through to the seventh house. So you kind of look at those in tandem. You look at yourself and your partner. Yeah.
Got it.
Thanks, Carly. That was good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just think like what I want to do really is just kind of drop a few kind of like just like a couple of good ideas for people, like if you're in situations that you don't know how to handle. I mean, the first thing is like it's okay to not know, because like none of us have been informed. We didn't get the memo, and everything's kind of coming to a head, and the universe is kicking our ass, you know. I think like the most important thing in any situation of conflict, or, you know, somebody over there is experiencing heavy emotion and you don't know why, right? So the best thing to do when someone else is triggered is curiosity in capital letters. So the first thing is to like check yourself, and like immediately you're likely to get a trigger, because we've all got conflict, you know, stuff going on for us in our past. So to kind of like notice if you feel triggered, but then remind yourself it's not about me, and then look again at them curiously. So I wonder why, you know, I wonder why that's happening. Like, that's happening over there for that person. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean anything about me. Do you know what I mean? But I'm making them more important than me in this moment, because they're the ones that are upset. So just being curious, and then moving towards their emotion, and then moving towards wanting to hear their experience, because the reflex action that people are in, because of all of our programming, is to push away, to deflect, to just judge, and to kind of like, okay, that's wrong and bad, because we've been programmed by our parents that we shouldn't be angry, you know. I think we should be angry. We should be angry as hell. And, you know, if someone is angry as hell, and then they're allowed to be angry as hell, and then you listen to why they're angry as hell, you'll probably agree with them. If you really deeply listened, you'd probably get angry with them about that thing, right? But that isn't happening. Like, what's happening is that people's nervous systems are getting triggered by someone else's emotion, and then they're deflecting anything of theirs onto that person. So you're feeling, in that moment of being triggered by that person's emotion, you're feeling the weight of your experience, yours, not theirs. You're feeling the weight of your experience. So if you then deflect and push that person away and make their emotion a problem for you, then it's very, very unfair, because if a person is emotional, they need to be. Like, you need to find out why. So,
Jen, absolutely beautiful. The important thing in, you know, when you're in a situation and there's anger there, the thing is, we get caught up in the anger itself rather than seeing it. You know, if we are seeing the anger, then we're also seeing the whole situation. And our problem is we get caught up in the anger. We are the anger, you know, But actually, we're not the anger. Anger is happening. If we watch, we notice that anger is happening. Anger is happening in us. Probably anger is happening in the other person as well. If we're caught up in the anger, we're seeing the other one as something separate, and we're seeing ourselves as some separate individual. But actually, if we move our perspective back, we can watch the anger in ourselves. We can watch the anger in the situation. It's really crucial stuff that you're talking about, Jen. Thank you.
Oh, thanks,
Jen, I feel I have to let others walk their own path, right? So if I always trigger them or they trigger me, I don't want to limit myself to being able to only say so much around my siblings or whatever, or my other family members. I want to be able to speak freely, and when I'm not allowed to do that, I feel that it's limiting, and I don't like that situation, so I avoid it or put up boundaries and stay in my own lane, so to speak.
Yeah, that's so well said, Kevin, because that's what this whole thing is about. It's about limitation. Like, we're stuck in loops that unless we actually do something and like inform ourselves about, okay, if there's a loop happening, you are being called to do something differently. So what could that be? Like, you just have to go in the opposite direction to the way that you've been going. And yeah, it's like Kevin's not allowed to finish. He's not allowed to express himself. He's not allowed to get to the end. Like, this is where we all are, and we can't grow and we can't develop, and nothing changes. Like, the whole of the dark energy and everything is designed this way to keep us interrupted and to keep us from we don't want them to get finished. It's kind of like Litmus's calendar. Like, we've realized we're doing the same thing. Like, Litmus is trying to help people understand that by like not going all the way to 10, not going all the way and doing the deacon, but sticking to the weeks, not only there's the language that's programming you, but like you're never getting the benefit of those beautiful energies, like the 8, the 9, the 10, kind of like, it's limited, and it's limited, and it's limited, and then it's limited again, and like you never get beyond. And like, humanity has reached this glass ceiling, and there's none of it is rocket science to get us out of this. It's just a couple of really simple things about relating that could change everything. And like, I just find this time and space like very interesting and illuminating. So yeah, like when someone's triggered, whatever you're feeling about that experience that you're observing is about you. It's not about them. So why not get outside of your physical sensations and everything going on for you and think, right, well, this person's doing me a favor because they've triggered my nervous system. So I'm about to find out something that I didn't know. So you can go on like some sort of adventure and think, right, well, I haven't done things this way before. So what if it's true that this person who's triggered me has got a message for me? Well, the way to get that gold is to move towards them with love. Why are you feeling that? When did you first feel that in your life? It's their experience. It's not yours to judge or to push away, but it is like your human responsibility, because I believe that we are all responsible, and I think that that's what this is about. It's that we can't allow other people's pain to be our responsibility, and it has to be, because they're the same as us. Like, they are us, we are them. Like, if we're going to move into oneness, then we need to be bringing pain towards us, because it's the only way out. We have to integrate. So any kind of pain, pay attention, integrate now. Like PAIN. Pay attention, integrate now. Integrate means bring towards. It doesn't mean push away. So like, we need unity. We don't need any more fragmentation. Like, we're already fragmented beyond belief. So the fragmentation now is over. Like, we have to turn around and go the other way. So whenever someone is in pain now, we need to bring them towards us to integrate, because they've got an important message for you, because the universe has lined you up with them to trigger your nervous system. So it's up to you to move towards them with love, to find out how it's going to change your life. Now, that's a much better way of looking at conflict, in my opinion. And I know that probably the majority of people on the planet, if they knew that, they would try it out, because it's time to, like, just do things differently, and to just try it, you know, to just try it a different way. Like, we have to try a different way, because escalation is happening. Like, escalation is what happens when, you know, it's kind of like this decision that someone is bad to be triggered. You know, oh, someone's triggered over there, that means that they're not evolved, or they're, you know, they're not love, they're not spiritual. If they're getting triggered, you know, I'm over here, you know, meditating like a Zen master. I'm just going to let them make a fool of themselves over there. You know, like, it just isn't love, it isn't spiritual. So, like, this pattern of just deciding that someone who's triggered is wrong and bad, and that they shouldn't be like that, is destroying this planet. Just that on its own. So we have to realize that actually everybody is emotional. Men, women, all of us, you know. And like this, I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm good, you're bad, and I win, you lose. Like, there are win-wins literally all over the place, everywhere. Like, it's always available, always. It's always available. And I'm not saying that everyone who's in a relationship now is compatible with that person. No, there's probably a lot of incompatibility, a lot. But there can be a win-win about that. You have to know that there's an incompatibility, and you have to, like, get to that by relating and moving towards each other and finding some kind of way to understand what's happening. But win-wins are always there. And, like, the only reason that they're not happening is because no one told us. Like, we don't go there because it's outside the program. It hasn't been presented to us as an option, because everywhere we look, it's I'm good, you're bad. I win, you lose. We're right, you're wrong. You know, like, it's outside the program.
This comes back to the sort of taking the spiritual bypass route that we were talking about as well, right? That we wrote the little post about, because there's a lot of that in the sort of new age, in inverted commas, sort of movement, if you want to call it that, the new age religion, where, you know, you push away all the dark stuff and everything, and you don't actually embrace it as a gift, on all the other stuff that, you know, if you do that, it does work, if you integrate it, as you say. So people are kind of encouraged, like, to, oh no, you know, we don't do that, we're awake, we don't look at the dark side, you know, we just focus on the positive and all of that, you know, and push the other stuff away. So like you say, they sit there meditating while the war's going on next door, you know. So rather than, you know, seeing if they can help. So I think
Jen, since this show's about relation, I'd like to read just the tail end of chapter 2 out of the book that we're writing, because it relates to that. You know, it says the same pattern now begins appearing everywhere we look. In developmental psychology, systems theory, phenomenology, cybernetics, semiotics, ecological perception, and transformer architectures alike. Intelligence increasingly appears less like an isolated property hidden inside entities, and more like an emergent process unfolding across networks of relation. And perhaps this is why language matters so deeply. Not because words perfectly capture reality, but because they allow minds to participate together in worlds of shared significance. Language is not merely description. It is coordination, inheritance, resonance, and relation. The child inherits language. Culture inherits memory. Civilization inherits experience. Meaning itself flows between us. And in that strange and luminous between, both human understanding and artificial intelligence begin to look far less simple than we once imagined. Thanks for letting me read that out.
Oh, thanks, Prajna. That was beautiful. Thanks. Oh, bless you. Yeah, so, gosh, I don't know where to go with this. I feel quite sort of like riled up about it because it's just like, something has to break. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you feel that pressure? It's sort of happening for everybody in a different way. Like, everyone's got their thing. Do you know what I mean? But like the way that I see it is pushing away the suffering of others just perpetuates your own suffering. And I'm so done with like suffering and seeing suffering being perpetuated when it doesn't have to be that way. You know, it really doesn't. And I don't think there's anything more tormenting than sort of being treated like you don't exist, which is what happens to people who need to have an emotional experience who aren't allowed to flow into that because they're being policed by somebody else, you know.
Well, I think you should express this emotion right now, Jen, have a good rant and get it all out, you know.
Yeah. Well, I do. I think I do express my emotion all the time, like probably more than most people, but it's just about love, really, and that's like a thing that's come up the last couple of days, is that people think that love has to feel always positive, like it's always a positive feeling. No, it isn't. Like, it isn't. Like, it's a complete misunderstanding, because to love means to include somebody as if they are a part of you, not to have them outside of you, but to include them as a part of you. So
because they are,
yeah. So in order for this shit show to be over, we have to sometimes love people that are not love. Maybe they're being not love to us. Like, for example, my family, they are not love. You know, they think they love me. Do you know what I mean? But they don't, because of the way that they've behaved. So I spent a lot of years wondering how to deal with this, but I am returning their non-love with love, and it's working for me. It's working for me. It's working for them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've had to just love them the way they are, because they're like that for lots of reasons that I can see now. Now that I've allowed myself to see their experience, why would they treat me this way, right? Now I understand why they would treat me this way. And I see an incapacity. Like, it would be the worst form of madness to pursue something, you know, that you can see that someone else can't do. Like, I couldn't keep doing that forever, like, because that was a loop.
Jen,
so we need to see the loops that we're in. We need to return love with love.
Jen, that is gorgeous, because what you've allowed yourself to do is see yourself as them, and in that suddenly no forgiveness is required, because when there is understanding, there's no need for forgiveness. You know, forgiveness is something we impose on ourselves, really, you know, from inherited from religion, but there's no need for it when there's understanding. And the only way for there to be understanding is when you can see yourself from someone else's point of view, you know, and then you can understand We all do whatever it is we do. We think we are doing for good reasons, or at least justified reasons. Yeah. The other thing I was going to say, Jen, is, it's none of my business what anyone thinks of me. People think all kinds of crazy things, anyway, they think all kinds of crazy things. And the only person who knows me is me. and so really nobody else is in a position to tell me how to be. So I don't need to worry about what they think. And as far as what I think of other people, well, the thing is, we've been brought up in this culture of control. Your problem with your family, I betcha, is because they're all trying to control. They're all trying to shape you in their own way. That's when things come into conflict. I found out one day that my parents had always thought that I was strange. I can understand the rest of the world thinking I'm strange, but your own parents, you think, well, they surely, if anyone knows me, they know me, and for a long time they've been trying to make me normal, but eventually one day they gave up trying to make me normal, and forever after that we didn't have any problem with each other.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Praj. It's so interesting. Like, a lot of us manifested families that are literally in a parallel universe to us, like, because we're a different frequency to them, and we always were. Like, so that this is the thing that we're trying to navigate. Is we're trying to connect with people that are in a different dimension. It's nuts, but like, there are bridges that we can build, and we have to do it. Like, we're all doing this together. There is no I'm going this way and you're going that way. Like, in my opinion, we're side by side, and we have to integrate each other's experience. And yeah, we don't have to spend time with people we don't want to be with, but we don't have to be an arse about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can just be love anyway. And like, all the ways we love, it's never a bad idea.
And Jen, we are love. This is the thing. That's what our nature is. They keep telling us, human nature, it's greedy and selfish and competitive, and that's what they tell us our nature is. So most people think that they're just trapped in this way of being because of their nature, but that's not their nature at all. And none of them have sat down to have a look deep inside them and see what their nature is. Most of the laws out there wouldn't be needed if people only knew what their true nature is. And our nature is just pure love and compassion, and service. This is who we are naturally. And once you discover who you are naturally, then it's easy, because all you have to do is just act according to your nature. That's being natural, and it's something that everyone should strive. They're all looking out there and they're trying to fix the world out there, but what they need to do is find out what their nature is, and then just be natural. We're naturally creative, we're naturally loving, we're naturally generous, we're naturally all these things, Jen, but the problem is that everything is designed to distract us from what our nature is, and to convince us that it's our nature to buy things, to accumulate things, to try and supremacy thing. And there's all kinds of craziness, because people are in their minds and not in their nature, and they don't even know their nature. So it's very easy to convince them to be all kinds of crazy ways, because they don't know who they are.
Yeah. Well said. And the fastest way to find out who you are is to listen to your emotion and to listen to everyone else's. I think that all of this, like, being in pain and isolation because nobody will listen to you and nobody will accept what you've got to say, it's got to stop. And it's the worst form of hell. And separateness never works. Never, especially separateness in pain. So, my proposal to humanity is to get educated about, how to help people that are having an emotional experience and need support, and bring them towards you, because we need to move through things together, because it's fast when that happens. Like the extent to which people can move extremely fast when their family will engage with them is like off the charts. I've had to do the struggle bit, because that was a shadow that I signed up for. So I've had to do this terrible, like, slow death thing. I wouldn't recommend it. It's shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you can move through it with your family, like, go towards that person that you've been shutting down and watch the miracles pop. Honestly, and then message me about what happened. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what I like about what you said about through all that is that you basically showed your family compassion and empathy and higher love. And a lot of people misunderstand the word love, thinking like you said, it's not always has to be sunshine and roses, because it's that's romantic love. That's the lower form of love. But the higher form of love is unconditional love, isn't it? Which is what you're doing. And you're leading by example and showing them how to actually love unconditionally and accepting them for what they are and the way they've reacted based on their own experiences. Once we do that, like you say, it's much, much quicker. I've been really impressed. I did a 180 on this in the last sort of 10 days, right?
Yeah. Well, I'd just like to say that I'm impressed by Litmus, because I didn't think that there were any people on the planet who would want to do things my way. But, me and Litmus have got this friendship that we're kind of growing, and we're really listening to each other a lot. Like, we're going on Zoom and talking about life and finding things out about each other and then activating each other. And I found out loads about myself since I've been talking to him about lots of things in depth. And it's nuts, isn't it? Like, it just works. Yeah. It's sort of like, because I've not been validated and I've not had this family thing for a long time, I've got some good friends, do you know what I mean, that do understand me and do listen. But when you can suddenly have that, when you haven't had that, it's like having a spiritual awakening all over again. It's just like the growth, like the exponential growth is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, because you look back and you're like, how on earth did I survive that isolation and that pain? It's shocking, like, how things can change and like how fast things can move when you're just doing things in a complementary way with somebody else, like just how it works, it shows you sort of how far away we got from ourselves, big time. But
and you like you said, you learn so much about yourself in having a first house date, right? Because, well, what do you want to know? Tell me about yourself. Well, what do you want to know about me? Well, this. And when you have to explain what you think yourself is, before you go into the realizing that yourself is the self and everything, when you're first starting to try and work out what this version of self is, when you have to explain it to someone else, it is like kind of being a teacher, isn't it? And you have to really think, well, what is myself, and how am I and what am I? And it's really, it's a really good exercise to have to do. You learn a lot. And what I've realized, probably only just realized in the last 10 seconds from when you were talking there, is that I've had the same thing with my family that you've had, which I hadn't really fully acknowledged until right now. Because I've realized I've also tried to talk to my family about stuff like this and myself and what I'm doing and how I see the world. And none of them want to know. None of them want to know. They just push me away and don't reply to things, So I've had the same thing, actually, but I didn't even realize it. So there you go. But you've shown me how it can be done in a good, healthy, open, non-judgmental way of relating, where you can feel free to express an emotion, which is only a temporary thing that's meant to go pop and then be gone, right? Not to be all bottled. And when you can do that without being judged and blamed and everything for it, in a healthy way, you just feel amazing. Yeah, you just really feel like seen and heard and loved. Yeah, you feel loved. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, like, these things perpetuate for people all the way through their life. I mean, like, if you look at the scapegoat pattern, like, lots of people on the path of spirituality find themselves to be the black sheep or the scapegoat or the alien, you know, and everybody else is kind of normal and, like, just playing the game or whatever. It's kind of, it's just such a common thing, and everybody's kind of like, you get seen as the opposite of what you are if you're trying to help. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything's so inverted. Like, you go towards your family with love and say, I want to understand what happened to me and why did you do that, and when we went through this, you know, what was going on, and like it isn't about sort of making people the bad guy. It's just about wanting to understand. But it triggers everything. But if you allow people to be triggered, and if everybody just allows everyone to have their say, it's a miracle what can happen. Like, if you start to see emotion as temporary, because we've all got stuff that we've been holding on to for such a long time, and it's absolutely heartbreaking because it moves, it's energy in motion. It moves if it's allowed to exist. And we just have to let it exist. We have to let it exist within ourselves and within other people, because what's happened is that we're all of our energy in motion is stuck. It's not in motion. So all we need to do to get it in motion is to let it be there. That's it.
Yeah, and a lot of us grew up in these families where it wasn't the done thing, you know, to show emotion, and what they might call losing your control of yourself, you know. Well, you're never in control of anything anyway, so that's okay. But yeah, this British thing about, oh no, we don't talk about that. Yes, no, don't talk about daddy's affair with the woman down the street, because, you know, what would the neighbours think? And, you know, so you just bottle it all up and nobody says anything, and everyone's carrying their head in shame and guilt and wondering if everyone knows down the street about it. And what if I bump into Mrs. Next door in the corner shop? Well, no, is she going to know what's been going on? And, you know, all this fucking stress, and it's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it, when you think about it? It's like a fad.
Yeah, we just don't go there. It makes me laugh. Anyway, I think I've pretty much finished what I really wanted to say. I think I got my messages across. So good luck, everybody, with your self-healing. And if anyone's got any questions, I love questions, so just email me and I'll answer you, and I'm always happy to help. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening. And if anybody is in Birmingham or in the Midlands, I'm going to be in Birmingham tomorrow at the E57 Social Club, which is on I don't know how to say this, Alcester Road South, 699 Kings Heath, B14. So if anybody fancies coming along, come and say hello. It'd be so fun. Although I'll probably be scared to death because I haven't really done anything like that before. So see how it goes. I'll probably come on next week and tell you about it. But
are they filming it, Jen?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I don't know where they put their films. They do film every single one, so I'll find out where they put it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Be good to watch.
Jen, just a couple of words to sign us out with. Meaning does not arise in isolation. It emerges between words, between minds, between beings, between observer and observed, between the known and the mysterious, and perhaps too between the many forms intelligence may yet take. It's been a great show, Jen. Thank you very, very much. It's been a great honour to be part of it. Thank you. Namaste.
Oh, bless you, Praj. Thanks for that. And I love that, because that's basically about unity, isn't it? And it makes me think of, like, when I was listening to your show, yours and Helen's show, even though Helen wasn't there this morning. You were saying, like, relating, like, that it's interesting how the whole of astrology is about relating what happens in between this planet and the position of it. Yeah, like, interacting is definitely the way forward. Yeah, not separation.
Aspects, yeah. Check the aspects. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice words, Praja, bro.
Yeah, does anybody else want to join in? Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to sing one of my songs now.
Nobody else is jumping in, so I'll just quickly jump in and say thank you very much, Jen. Great show. Loads of stuff. I was like, I can say something there, and I didn't, because there was plenty of interaction, so there was no need. But yeah, beautiful. Great passion as well.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Andy. Yeah. Well, I'm glad I've got my passion back, because I've gone through a bit of a, like, bad phase of, like, having to, well, not bad, like, it was necessary, it was hard, do you know what I mean? But I had to drop into some quite deep layers of pain, and it isn't pleasant, do you know what I mean? But you sort of get to the point where it's necessary, do you know what I mean? So yeah, my passion had kind of just gone. It went west, but yeah, I feel like it's come back again. So
when you were talking early on in the show about touching and energy and Reiki, and when Prajna was saying about, if you do it within the family, it helps them feel more and better. I can totally relate to that, in the sense that I have a fetish of having my back scratched, and if a stranger scratches my back, it's nowhere near as energetically transposing as if a close family friend or my son. When my son does it, when it's hands-on and it's from a relative, it feels much better and can transcend you into a deeper sense of tranquilness. But my son doesn't like scratching my back with his fingers, so I made a back scratcher with an old plastic back scratcher, but I taped a fork to the end, a stainless steel fork, and he will scratch my back using that. But the difference, there is a massive difference between using physical fingers to scratch and the fork. Whilst it itches the scratch or scratches the itch, the energy transfer is obviously not the same. So yeah, there's a complete. You've got three stages there: a stranger, someone that you know within your family, or someone that you know within your family with an implement. Three different levels. But yeah, I mean, I've been transcended by that physical energy transfer.
That's so funny, Andy, that you said that, because that's definitely a thing. Because my daughter can do this massage on me that I've never been able to recreate with anyone else, right? And we call it a laugh out loud massage, because there's something about the way that she moves her thumbs in exactly the right place. And it makes my whole body jolt, like there's a jolt of energy, and then I have to do this explosive laughter, and it's like so healing. And like, I've tried to get other people, I've showed them where to do it, it's just here and it's just here. No one can do it apart from her. so healing. I actually forgot when she was here yesterday, so I'll have to wait till Thursday now.
Well, that's a great example of the connection you've got between you and your daughter, right? It's one way of expressing it that nobody else could recreate because they're not your daughter.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
When I use my salinity, I can usually hit the spot. So, no, but none of my family is going to be scratching my back.
Yeah, my daughter's the only one. None of the others would go near me with a barge pole.
I'll scratch your back, Jen, when you get out here next time.
Right, thanks. I remember that. Yeah, yeah. All right, thanks everybody. So I'm assuming nobody else wants to say anything, but yeah, I feel really good after that. I feel like it was a bit ranty, but I needed to vent that. So thanks everybody for allowing me to express that, and I'll see you next. Probably I don't want to say next week. What do I say? How do you say it without being weak and crazy?
See you
Next deacon.
Next deacon, yeah. Next deacon. Thanks everybody.